The Knicks have been linked to several different stars and superstars in the NBA going back to this past offseason. Unfortunately for the Knicks, they have failed to make a trade as of yet. And really, the names back in the offseason were Joel Embiid and Cat. But now, the names recently have been DeMar DeRozan, Bojan Bogdanovic, and to an extent, Zach LaVine. But the updates have been far and few in between, and when they have come out, they've been scattered all over the place. Now, really, I could have done a video on each and every single one of these updates. But for you guys, I decided to roll all of these updates together and give you updates on all of the major trade targets the New York Knicks have and their current status with the Knicks. We're going to break down all of this and so much more today. So be sure you're subscribed to the channel and have notifications turned on so you don't miss a second of the new content. And now, let's get started. These are some updates on all of the New York Knicks' potential trade targets. Now, we've heard the names: Joel Embiid, Karl Anthony-Towns, DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, Zion Williamson, OG Anunoby. I could keep going. The list goes on and on and on. There are a number of names that have always been linked to the Knicks. And really, a lot of fans have been wondering, what are the current updates, the current status of these players and their hopes of coming to the Knicks this season or hopefully next season or potentially in the future? Well, those are great questions, but the updates have been scattered. You got some updates from Ian Bagley from SNY. You got updates from Bleacher Report. You got updates from The Athletic. So what I decided to do was I clipped all of those particular reports together and gave you the most current updates on all of these stars and where they are right now with regards to the Knicks. Let's start out first with Karl Anthony-Towns. So Towns, according to Bleacher Report and The Athletic, the Knicks checked in on Cat but never made an offer. Per The Athletic's Fred Katz, the Knicks checked in on three-time All-Star but never made an offer to Minnesota. There was optimism before the start of the season that the Knicks might be in the mix for a potential superstar via trade in the summer of 2024. Per Michael Scotto of Hoops Hype, he reports that should Minnesota suffer an early playoff exit, the Knicks and Timberwolves could always circle back on a potential trade, with looming luxury tax concerns coming from Minnesota's roster after significant pay raises begin for Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, and Towns next season, along with Rudy Gobert's salary as well. Those four players make up a large sum of Minnesota's projected $190 million roster. Cat was the one trade target for me that I had the most fear about, because early on, before Minnesota went off this season and are holding one of the best records in the entire NBA, one of the best defenses in the entire NBA, Cat, Edwards, and Gobert look great together. So honestly, at this point in time, this Cat thing for me is a lot of relief, because it does not look like it's going to happen at all. With the way the Timberwolves are playing, it does not seem real that the Knicks could potentially be in the mix for trading for Cat this season. If a trade for Cat is going to happen, it's going to come at the next offseason. And that's really up to Cat and what he does with Minnesota. If Cat and the Timberwolves go to the second round of the playoffs or do better than that, I think the Timberwolves are going to retain that core. But if they don't and they fail again, or maybe they spiral out of control from this point and they miss the playoffs completely, let's say that happens. It looks impossible at this point, but let's say hypothetically that happens. Then at that point in time, you could bring the Knicks up again for potentially wanting to trade for Karl Anthony-Towns. But as of right now, the team is too good. Towns looks too good with that team as well too. It doesn't make sense for them to make an in-season trade for Towns at this point. The trade for Towns will happen eventually during an offseason. And that's really if Towns doesn't show up this postseason, if the Wolves are lucky enough to get there. It's really on his performance that's going to really decide whether he's traded or he stays with the Timberwolves. But as of right now, these are the updates that we have. And as you can really see, even though the Knicks checked in on Cat, they never made an offer, because really they're just window shopping at this point. They want to do their due diligence. They want to see who's available. They want to see what it would take to get that player on their roster. But other than that, Leon Rose and the Knicks just want to get that information and do what they're going to do with it. Nothing really more than that. So even though, again, they checked in, they never made an offer. So this Cat situation with him going to the Knicks as of right now is non-existent. Not going to happen. And if you want to see it happen, the closest chance you're going to see it happen is going to be this next offseason. Next on the list, Joel Embiid. According to Bleacher Report and The Athletic, the Knicks' pursuit of Embiid has lessened. The organization doesn't believe the MVP will become available. Per The Athletic, the Knicks' hope for Philadelphia 76ers MVP Joel Embiid has lessened as the team has excelled in the post-James Harden era. Fred Katz states the following: the Knicks have made it clear to other teams that they want a star, but they also don't expect one to become available in the middle of the season. The hope for Joel Embiid has lessened as the Philadelphia 76ers continue to win after trading James Harden to the LA Clippers. I gotta say, no one, especially me, expected the 76ers to be as good as they are. Tyrese Maxey looks absolutely sensational. He looks like he's real, and he's the main reason why Joel Embiid is likely going to say a Philadelphia 76er. Not only that, but even before Maxey went off, there were reports indicating even with James Harden potentially being traded to another team, he wasn't traded at that point in time, but even though there were reports even at that time that the Philadelphia 76ers were likely going to move on from James Harden, Embiid and his faith in Philly never wavered. There were reports even at that point in time that he wanted to end his career at Philadelphia. And to see him go off this season, because his numbers again this year are MVP level. So let's get that right. And then you add to that Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris doing what he can do. The Sixers are a deep team. They look very good even without James Harden. Tyrese Maxey seems like he has become unlocked after James Harden has left this team. The Sixers are rolling right now, and really, honestly, there is no reason for them to do any business with the Knicks. There was never a reason beforehand, them being a division rival. But now, with them doing so well, there is definitely zero reason for them to do any business with any team regarding Joel Embiid. Joel is likely going to stay a Philadelphia 76er for his entire career, especially if the Sixers continue to play like this. But as of right now, he is not on the table, he is not available, and the Knicks shouldn't even look his way in terms of looking to potentially trade for him. Don't look now, it's the Bull guys, DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. According to Bleacher Report and The Athletic, the Knicks are not in on LaVine and DeRozan. There isn't serious interest in New York to acquire either Bulls guard. According to Fred Katz of The Athletic, the Knicks haven't expressed serious interest in either of the Bulls stars. With Chicago sitting at 8-14 through 22 games, its front office has dealt with several roadblocks when it comes to potentially trading away the team's top scorers. The Bulls have reportedly struggled to find suitors for LaVine and DeRozan and center Nikolai Vucevic on the trade market, per Katz. Fred Katz isn't the only NBA insider to report this. SNY's Ian Bagley also reports the same and doubles down on the report, stating that the Knicks have not even looked into or wanted to go after DeMar DeRozan or Zach LaVine. Several reports state that the Bulls are open to moving Zach LaVine and other veterans like DeMar DeRozan. This makes sense as DeRozan also strongly considered signing with the New York Knicks in the 2021 offseason. DeRozan has made it clear that he wants to join either the Knicks or the Heat if he was to be traded. But as of earlier this week, the Knicks hadn't engaged in any advanced talks with Chicago on any of their players, per SNY sources. What's not mentioned there, and what should be mentioned there, is that there have been reports that have been confirmed and clarified from Zach LaVine's camp stating that if he were to be traded, he prefers not to be traded to the Knicks. So that's just another reason why the Knicks are likely not looking to trade for Zach LaVine, and also another reason why they didn't even engage with Chicago looking for interest in LaVine to trade for him. Because there's no reason to do that when multiple reports have already confirmed that he does not want to be a New York Knick and he does not want to be traded for the Knicks. So because of that, I don't blame Leon Rose or the Knicks for not checking in with Chicago on LaVine. The DeMar situation, though, is a little bit more of a question mark, because it feels like a Leon situation. It feels like a Leon Rose move to go after DeMar DeRozan. And the reason I say that is because his price tag is definitely going to be down regardless of what he's doing with the Bulls this year. The Bulls are not winning. So because they're not winning, his value is absolutely going to be lowered. It's already been reported by The Athletic that the Bulls are struggling to find suitors for any one of their stars. That's probably because they're asking for a lot for those stars. So that means over time, the asking price for these individuals are going to go down. They're going to lessen. And when they do, I think eventually DeMar DeRozan's asking price at that point in time, once it's lessened, and I think once that happens, at that point in time, Leon Rose and the Knicks will pounce to see if they can trade for DeMar DeRozan. Because we already know Leon Rose is risk averse, but also he likes to get deals on things and he likes to steal things. And if he can do either, he's going to do it, especially if the trade can help upgrade the roster. And I can absolutely see Leon Rose and the Knicks making that move to upgrade the roster if the trade makes sense for the Knicks and it's cheap enough. We know Leon Rose would go after it. So I think it's only a matter of time before DeRozan's price is low enough before the Knicks and Leon Rose pounce on him. And I think that's what they're waiting on. But at least as of right now, according to Ian Begley and Fred Katz, there is no interest in trading for either one of those players from the Knicks, which for me is a very good thing. I don't want DeRozan. He's aging. And I really don't want LaVine because LaVine doesn't want New York. And if you have a player who doesn't want to be in New York and he's in New York, that could add up to be a very, very disastrous situation. I'd rather avoid that completely and get players that want to be here, get players that want to play for the Knicks, and get players that want to help the Knicks win a chip. That's the players I want the Knicks to target. And also, target players that fit a position of need. We don't need more guards. We need a wing. We need a 3-and-D specialist. We need somebody that can do that consistently for the Knicks. I hope and pray that's what the Knicks are looking to trade for. And speaking of one of those players, because we spoke about DeMar, we spoke about Zach LaVine, another player on the list that has been consistently linked to the New York Knicks, even though there's a pending lawsuit with the team he's on, OG Anunoby. Per The Athletic and Bleacher Report, OG was the Knicks trade target last year. New York made a play to acquire Anunoby. And according to The Athletic, the Raptors never engaged in serious discussions to trade the all-defensive second-team member, according to Katz. And again, the Knicks did make a play with Toronto to try to trade for the small forward in OG Anunoby last season, but unfortunately, they failed to do so. This isn't anything new, but it helps clarify and confirm a lot of the points that we thought about last year. The Knicks had OG on their mind. They wanted to go after him and they wanted to trade for him. What that tells me is Leon Rose and the Knicks know where they need an upgrade the most. The wing position, the wing spot. And I'll tell you one thing, OG Anunoby is not a lock to sign anywhere. He's not a lock to re-sign with the Raptors. He's CAA, and he has a player option for next season. So if he wants to, he can explore free agency, walk whenever he wants to, and go wherever he wants to go. And the CAA connection, if you haven't noticed, is absolutely real on the Knicks side. And they are going to make a play for OG if he becomes available either during trade market during this season or during the offseason. But either way, the Knicks are definitely going to try to pursue him. Whether or not they get him is anybody's guess. But a trade happening for OG between the Knicks and the Raptors this season, absolutely not going to happen. The real only update here is to clarify the fact that OG was absolutely the target for the Knicks last season, but they could just never get a trade done. Lastly on this list, and likely one of the lower tier players on this list when you compare him to all the players we recently just covered, Bojan Bogdanovic. Per Bleacher Report, the Detroit Pistons reportedly are not looking to deal veteran forward Bojan Bogdanovic amid the team's 18-game losing streak despite past links to the New York Knicks. According to SNY's Ian Begley, the Pistons have no immediate plans to trade Bogdanovic, who the Knicks were interested in landing in the past. The Pistons are hoping that Bogdanovic will be able to be a key contributor when he is healthy. Shout out to SNY's Ian Begley, Bleacher Report, and also The Athletic's Fred Katz for giving us this amazing information in all of these updates. We now have a lot of significant updates on the Knicks and their main trade targets as it goes today. And we really know, as of right now, all of their main trade targets are off the table. LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, the Knicks reportedly have no interest. Bogey, the Pistons don't really want to trade him. They want to keep him on the Detroit Pistons to add that veteran presence, even though the Pistons look miserable and terrible this season. So there's the update there. Joel Embiid and the Sixers are playing so well that a trade is not even on anybody's mind. Same thing really goes for Cat. The Knicks checked in, but after they checked in, nothing really came from that. They never even expressed any interest or made an offer. So after all of these updates, the conclusion we can come to is the Knicks have been window shopping. They are engaging with these teams. They're talking to these teams. They're asking what it could potentially take to get these players on the Knicks. But after they get that information, it's like they write it down, they file it, and they put it in a file cabinet, and they store it, and they take it out when they go back after that player just to see what the last update was. Because it doesn't feel like they're actually trying to go after these players. Because there's a number of reports actually indicating from the Athletic's Fred Katz that state that the Knicks know that they're not likely to trade for a star during the season. That move is only going to happen likely during the next offseason. And since the Knicks know that, the role players are the only players left that the Knicks are looking at potentially to trade for to get them on this team mid-season to help the Knicks compete even better in the Eastern Conference. But we don't know who that player is going to be. We thought it could be Bogey, and that's why I brought him up in this video. And the report now is the Pistons don't even want to move him. They have no immediate plans to do so. And even if they did, last year, 2 first-round picks from a contender couldn't get a trade done. I'm not even sure what this year a package for Bogey could look like. It might be just as expensive. And if it's expensive, I don't see the Knicks or Leon Rose making that trade happen anyways. So they're likely going to look to other role players on the market. Let's be real here. Evan Fournier's contract on the Knicks will always make the Knicks players at the trade deadline. I fully believe that. You do not bring Evan Fournier back in this season if you don't plan to deal him for something at the trade deadline. And I feel like that's what the Knicks are preparing to do. Because if they do nothing with him, and they brought him into this season, and didn't trade him before the season started, it is a really, absolutely head-scratcher of a move by the New York Knicks and Leon Rose. Only time will tell to see what the Knicks do with Evan Fournier and that contract, and ultimately, what role player they bring into the Knicks roster to help this team compete. But what about you guys? What do you think about all of these updates on these major trade targets that have been linked to the Knicks? Which one for you is still the most realistic, and which one are you waiting on? And if I didn't cover one of them, and you want me to cover another one of these potential stars, leave a comment below, I'll review it, and if possible, I'll create another video on that potential target. But thanks for watching this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, please go ahead and smash that like button, leave a comment below, and of course, guys, please subscribe to the channel. Until next time, Knicks fans. Peace.